place to hear that accepts those benefits right now is actually, it's not the Royal Oak. We're working on Royal Oak right now, but it's the Oak Park Farmers Market, which is at 10 in Coolidge. Also the Rochester Market accepts those benefits. So here in Royal Oak, you're kind of in between those two places. But today we're going to talk about older safety issues. And there's a lot of different safety issues. There's a lot of different safety issues that seniors face, including falls, fire safety, medication safety, physical safety, and financial safety. First, we'll talk about falls and fall prevention. Falls are actually the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries for folks over the age of 65. The CDC says that older adults die every 20 minutes in the United States from a fall. It's a pretty amazing statistic, but I can tell you personally, my mother fell, broke her pelvis. She missed a step in an office building, fell, broke her pelvis, was healing great, was home, was on her own. And then what happens is when you break a bone, the way it heals is you get a blood clot, and then it calcifies over it, and that's how your bone heals. Well, in part of this, my mother broke off a little piece of that blood clot that was helping her heal, and it went to her lung when she was sleeping one night, and she never woke up. And so that is directly a result of her breaking her pelvis. So we have to keep in mind that, you know, it's not just a broken bone, and even if you do just break your hip or break your pelvis, it's very financially and personally expensive to heal from some of that. A lot of times it never heals properly, and so there's walking issues from that, there's physical issues, and the cost of healing something like a broken hip is about $150,000 in costs, in medical costs nowadays. So we need to be cognizant of all of that. Most falls are preventable. If you do fall, if you have had an experience falling, speak to your medical care professional about it. Even if you don't think you hurt yourself, you need to have it looked into. You need to find out what the reason was that you fell. It may be that you are on different medications that are interacting with each other and causing you to be dizzy or causing you to lose your balance. It could be something like osteoporosis or losing mass from your bones, and that can cause you to lose your balance and to be less balanced. So you want to be sure that you talk to your medical care professional and let them know it isn't something to be embarrassed about. It's something that happens as we age, and we need to be aware, and we need to find the cause, and we need to find the solution. Another important thing is if you are having medications that are prescribed by many different physicians, you want to make sure that everybody knows what you're taking. Because a lot of times you could be taking two different medications that have different names but do the same thing. So you can be over-medicated. Sometimes they interact with each other and can cause problems. So you want to be sure that every doctor that is prescribing something for you knows what else you're taking. And another good thing to do is get all of your medications from one pharmacy, because that way the pharmacist also can double check and say, hey, this medication and this medication really do the same thing, and you don't need both of them. Let's talk to your physician. Let's find out which one would be a better choice and only take one. So you want to be sure that you have all these checks and balances so that you're not over-medicating. And if you have questions, I would rather you interrupt me and have your question answered than go away, then forget it and go away without your questions. I don't care if I lose my place, I'll find it somewhere. So if you have questions, just shout it out. We want to be sure that we keep moving, because this is the most effective way to prevent falls and injuries from falls. So the more you move, even if you have arthritis, and as we age, most of us come down with some osteoarthritis. Our joints aren't meant to last forever. But if we move, if we keep moving, if we keep exercising, if we keep pushing ourselves, we'll have less pain from that, and we'll have less problems with our balance. The two things that we can do best for our joints is keep them moving, keep exercising. We don't even want to call it exercise, we want to call it physical activity nowadays, because exercise has a bad connotation. But what we want to do is we want to be physical. We want to keep moving. We don't want to get up in the morning and sit down in front of a screen, be it a TV or a computer or a phone, and just plop ourselves down and not move. We need to get up. Even if you're going to do that, set a timer, and after 45 minutes every hour, get up and move for 10 or 15 minutes. Even if it's just walking around, we want to keep moving. The other thing that's important for our joints is lubrication, and the best way we can do this is to stay hydrated. Drink water, drink lots of water. That doesn't mean be excessive in it, because we can also flood our system, and we don't want to do that. Then our blood pressure can go down and we dilute our blood. We don't want to do that. So we want to drink about half an ounce to an ounce of water each day per pound of body weight. You know, it's silly to say things like drink a gallon every day, because everybody's needs are different. So if you are a moderately active person and it's not 90 degrees, which we have to take into account in Michigan right now, but if you're moderately active and you're not working out, you're not training for a marathon or something, 1/2 to 1 ounce of water per day per body pound is what we need to stay hydrated. And you'll find that your joints feel better when you drink this kind of water. When you are moving, if you are not somebody who's physically active, when you start moving, first of all, you want to check with your healthcare provider to make sure that it's safe. And you want to start out slowly. You know, you can't go from not walking at all to walking 2 miles a day. First of all, it's not sustainable, because you're going to get aches and pains that you never knew you had before. And second of all, we just can't do that. It won't be fun, it won't be anything that we enjoy, and we're going to stop doing it. So a couple things we can do is start out, if you're not used to walking at all, walk out to the mailbox and walk back. Then after a couple days, walk to your next door neighbor's mailbox and walk back. Many years ago, I was actually at the Clausen Senior Center teaching a class, and I said, we have to all be physically active and blah, blah. And there was a woman that was gung-ho. The next day she got up, she went walking, and she walked probably a mile, and she couldn't get back. Luckily she had a phone with her. She called her son to come and pick her up. We need to do things in moderation. Everything. If we change our diets, we need to do it in moderation. We can't just go from 0 to 100 and expect that that's going to happen. The other thing we want to do is, with physical activity, find something you like. Everything counts as far as being physical. Some things we don't like that we have to do, like maybe gardening or vacuuming or chasing after grandchildren. Well, we like chasing after grandchildren most of all. But all of those things count. We want to be physically active about 30 minutes 5 times a week. So that's about 150 minutes a week. And if we can find something we like to do, bowling or swimming or walking, and if we can do it with a friend, a buddy, we're more accountable. It's a lot harder to say, no, I'm not going to do it today, if someone else is counting on you to do it with them. So find someone you like, find something you like doing, but everything counts. Pushing a vacuum or cleaning the house is physical activity. We also want to do resistance kinds of exercises where either with a resistance band or with weights, we can use water bottles or cans of soup, but we want to move all of our muscles as much as we can. We need to do resistance kinds of exercises about twice a week, and more cardio where we're walking or swimming or bicycling about 3 times a week to stay healthy. Any questions, comments?
And they work for 16 hours plus a day.
We also want to make sure that our vision is good, so we need to get our vision checked at least once a year by a professional, be it an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, to make sure that we can see, because this has a lot to do with our balance and our safety also. So we want to be sure that our vision is healthy. We want to make sure that our feet are checked once a year at least by a physician or a podiatrist. Because sometimes, especially as our circulation slows down, we can get sores, we can get conditions on our feet that need to be treated, and that can also impede our balance. Okay? We want to reduce the tripping hazards in our home. Make sure that all rugs are secure. Small rugs, often we can get our feet stuck in them and we can trip that way. So we want to be sure that if we do have throw rugs, that they're taped down. We want to be careful if we have animals, small dogs and cats, that they stay out of our way. They shouldn't be trained to sit at our feet because that's a tripping hazard also. Coil or tape cords and wires next to the wall so that you can't trip over them. But you don't want to put cords under rugs at all, because what can happen is they can overheat and they can cause a fire. So we want to keep them against the walls, maybe taped to the wall, so that we don't trip on them and that they're not a fire risk. If you've been advised by a medical professional to use a cane or a walker, please do it. It's much safer than holding onto the walls or furniture. And we want to be sure that we're wearing shoes that fit well. And if you wear slippers in the house, make sure that they're non-slip. Anything that you need that you use often, you want to put in a place that's easy to reach. Please don't climb up on stools or chairs. It's not safe. They're not sturdy. If you use
the financial tracking.
Step ladder, make sure that it's on the ground flat. You know, that it's not one leg of it is on a rug and one leg is on a floor, because that can also cause it. Also, we want to make sure that our homes are lighted well. We want to use the maximum wattage in all lamps. And if you don't know the maximum wattage, typically it's 60 watts for a light bulb. But we want to make sure that it's well lit so we can see, because that's one of the causes of falling. On the stairs, we want to be sure that we take our time, we use the handrails, and that our stairs are well lit. There should be a light at the bottom and at the top of the stairs. And there should be no rugs either at the bottom or at the top of the stairs, because as you come off the stairs one way or another, that can cause slipping and falling. In the bathroom, you want to be sure that you have grab bars and that they are made to be grab bars. They must be installed according to manufacturer's directions and should be institutional grade stainless steel. We want to make sure that even if we're slipping, we don't reach for a towel wrap to try and save us from falling. They will come out of the wall and they can hit us in the head. That's very dangerous. So we want the grab bars to be near the toilet and one in the shower for our safety. And big, Usually, you can call the manufacturer. They may have, when you buy a grab bar in a store, even in Target, they sell some. There's sometimes a phone number on there, and they usually have a list of installers that can help you with that. Otherwise, you can even call senior centers and the service director, the service provider. A lot of times he has lists of things like that.
Another good idea.
They're great resources. The service providers at senior centers have lots of resources. Another good resource to keep in mind is the nurse on call through Oakland County. She can direct you to a lot of these things. And if you're having trouble navigating the healthcare system in any way, you've been dropped from Medicare, you're having trouble paying for your medications, the nurse on call really has a lot of good resources to help you with that. It is, and I have service directories at my table up here that has her name, her number. Avoid using space heaters in the bathroom. It's an electrical concern. You know, if you have something plugged in and you're getting out of the bathtub and you accidentally touch it, that can cause a fire, it can cause burns, so you want to be careful with that. You want to be sure that you check your smoke alarms, and every 6 months, you may be getting away from daylight savings time, changing back and forth. So you want to set a reminder, you want to make sure that you change the batteries in that. You also want to be sure that you have a carbon monoxide detector in your house. And it should be that there's one right near your bedroom, so that if, God forbid, it goes off, you hear it at night. Carbon monoxide is odorless, it's colorless. You don't know if those numbers are going up in your house. If for some reason you have a dryer, a gas dryer, and the tubing comes loose, you can get carbon monoxide building up. If your furnace is old and something gets stuck in there, you can get carbon monoxide building up in the house. So you want to make sure that there's something that can wake you up. It's loud enough, it has an alarm that's going to wake you up in the middle of the night if the carbon monoxide numbers go up in your house.
Alright, so now I've gotten, this is not a perfect.
When you're cooking, only use pots and pans near the stove and make sure that the handles for those are turned in, so that if you go walking by your stove, you don't accidentally knock over a pot or a pan that's on the stove. You don't want any kind of flames in your bedroom, so no candles, no smoking. Actually, burns are a leading cause of injury among older adults. And 42% of bedding fire-related deaths involve people aged 65 or older from different causes. Smoking in bed is a major cause of this, a major contributor to this problem. And burning things like cigarettes or candles or fireplaces even. When we built our house, we put a fireplace in our bedroom, and it was wonderful. It was nice, it was romantic, but you have to remember to put the fire out, even if it's a gas fire, a gas fireplace. It has to be turned off before you go to sleep. The other thing you want to be careful with are things like electric blankets and electric heating pans. Those should be, nothing should be put on top of an electric blanket, not even another blanket. So if that isn't keeping you warm enough, you don't want to put another blanket over an electric blanket. And you want to make sure that it's on a low setting as you go to sleep. An electric heating pad should always be turned off before you fall asleep. A lot of them nowadays have timers on them, so they'll only stay on for an hour or 45 minutes or something. If you tend to doze off, you want to make sure that it's on a timer, that it's going to turn off, that it's not on overnight. Oh, there's the risk of overheating. There's also the risk of burning your skin, so you want to be careful. We want to be sure that we store medication safely. And if you, especially if you have children coming into your home, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, whatever, you want to make sure that medication is not where they can get it. They're very curious, they like to climb, and nowadays a lot of medications are in the form of gummies, even vitamins and what have you. Vitamins are toxic in large quantities. Even water-soluble vitamins can be toxic in large quantities. So we want to make sure that young children can't get their hands on those. And now we have laws that allows everybody to have, that marijuana is legal in Michigan. We want to be sure that that's locked up. And we, as from the Oakland County Health Division, offer bags that are lockable and odor-proof because there's a very strong scent to marijuana if it's not in gummies. And we want to be sure that teenagers don't have access to that. So we have odor-proof locking bags that we can get you. And they're free of charge. We understand that everybody has the right to have marijuana in their homes, but we just want to keep everybody safe, so we have those. But even your aspirin, your ibuprofen, your acetaminophen, those things are dangerous, and we want to make sure that they're kept away from young children. So those things have to be either locked up or kept somewhere where someone's not going to find them. We want to make sure that we clean out our medicine cabinets every year. Medications expire, and they can not only lose their potency, but they can also become toxic. So we don't want to keep them longer than their shelf life. We have a program in Oakland County where we have 30 different sites that will take medication and dispose of it properly. We don't want to flush medications down in the toilet.
Where can we find that information? Because I have medication that's out of date, and I'm moving. I want to just get rid of it properly.
If you call the nurse on call, I'll get you that phone number. They will tell you all the sites. Usually police stations, sheriff's department, even fire stations will take them. A lot of pharmacies nowadays will, but the nurse on call is a good source for all of those medications. We want to make sure that there's no accidental poisonings, or that young people that tend to, not just young people, it goes the gamut nowadays, that the potential for abuse is limited as much as possible. We want to be sure that we're physically safe in our own homes. There's a lot of risks. There's a lot of people that we have to be concerned about nowadays. So we want to make sure that all of our doors and all of our windows are locked every night. If you open a window, make sure you close it and lock it before you go to bed, and your doors. We want to be aware of who's around us, what's in our surroundings, especially if we're going to an ATM or we're loading groceries in the car. These are all risky situations. And if someone doesn't look right, if someone's watching you or looking questionable, get out of there. You know, take your grocery cart and go back in the store until they're gone. Drive away from the ATM. Be aware. Look and see and make sure that you take a good picture in your mind of what this person looks like. If you want to, it's okay to be afraid of strangers. It really is. We want to have emergency phone numbers near every phone in font that's or in print that's large enough for us to read it. We want to have emergency 911 listed there. We want to have the fire, the poison control number, and also the name of your doctor, name and phone number of your doctor, and also a family member or someone that you can depend on. but those numbers should always be higher. If you have health issues, the fire departments usually have alert stickers that you can put on your door, that if there's an emergency, if someone needs to get into your house, it'll say diabetic, or there's a pet that lives in the house, so that if there's a fire, the firefighters know to get this pet out of the house, that you want your pet kept safe also besides you. Or if you have to be taken by ambulance somewhere, if you lose consciousness and you're taken away, that there's a pet in the house that needs to be taken care of. You also want to have emergency plans, especially here in Michigan. I don't know how many times this past week we've gotten alerts that we could have tornadoes, we could have damaging storms, that we could be losing our power. So you want to have emergency plans. You want to have enough water on hand if your water goes out or your electricity goes out. You should have battery operated flashlights, and also the name of somewhere that you can go. Have it in your mind. Know where you can go if there is an emergency, if you're not going to have power for a week. And it's happened, you know. We always hear complaints about how DTE has gotten worse and worse with restoring power to us. And so you want to have a backup plan. You want to know what you can do in the case of a power outage. This is something that we all need to face as we get older, is driving safely. We want to be sure that we limit our distractions and that we, again, are physically fit, because as we get older, we can have arthritis in our neck, in our shoulders. It makes it harder for us to turn and look and see around us as we're driving. So we want to maybe do some of those chair exercises, those easy exercises where we stretch the muscles in our neck. And it actually feels good to do it. But if you do something like this, maybe 10 times a day, and you twist a little bit, you get more, you can move better, so you can see better in different directions as you're driving, and you have more mobility. And as we exercise, we lose less muscle mass, and we lose less bone mass. So we want to be sure that we do all those things. We want to limit distractions in the car, so we want to put our phone away. It's actually a law now in Michigan, you can't touch your phone while you're driving. So put it in your purse, put it in the glove box, put it somewhere where you're not going to be tempted to look at it and to touch it. If you're driving somewhere that you're not familiar with, use GPS and set that up before you start driving. So it's ready, it's going, you don't have to play with it as you go. And hopefully you have it set on audio so that it will tell you in 300 feet, turn right. Not that it's always correct. I mean, there are times where the GPS can lead you astray, but it's a better chance of you getting there safely than if you're constantly looking at a map or a phone or what have you, if you're trying to maneuver it yourself, if you don't know where you're going. Know your limitations, know your medications, and know that some of your medications may make you dizzy or fuzzy, and that it isn't safe to drive when that's happening. Don't drive if you're tired or you're angry. They've actually found that you're 50% more at risk of getting into a car accident if you're angry. You know, imagine that. And nowadays, you don't know who else can be angry, or if they're carrying a gun. You know, if you're beeping your horn at somebody, or you have a little bit of road rage, their road rage may be worse, and you don't know if they, if they have a gun in the car with them. So you've got to be real careful with that. And never, please, never drive if you get some alcohol. Financial safety. There are also, there's classes you can take. And Ageways, which used to be the Area Agency on Aging 1B, offers classes for reminder. You know, first of all, driving laws have changed over the years. Things are different now than they were 50 years ago or so when we got our licenses. And so it's a good way to understand the new laws. And it's also something that a lot of times if you take these driver reminders classes, refresher classes, if you call your insurance agent, they'll give you a discount for taking one of those. So you may. We do have some transportation. A lot depends on if your city has opted in or opted out. We have smart buses. We have they're called Flex Smart now, that will come and pick you up and take you places. I know I've seen them all over Oakland County. I know that Troy opts in for that, Birmingham opts in for that. In the western part of Oakland County, there's WODA, that's Western Oakland Transportation Association. But most communities in Oakland County, other than some that are very rural, like Holly and Highland, those have opted out of these programs. Financial safety, we want to never give personal information over the phone or the internet unless you were the one that initiated the contact. So that means that if someone calls you and says, even if they know your name, you know, they can say, oh, hi Mary, I was told to call you to get your Medicare information to try and see if there's a better program for you. Say, thank you very much, I'm not interested. If you didn't initiate this call, it's a risk. A red flag should go up from that. The same thing with the internet. If you're getting somebody soliciting you on your email, first of all, you want to check the email address it's coming from, so you can click on the email at the top and make sure that it's somebody that you know. And if it's not someone you know, delete that email. If you click on a link on that, it may disturb your computer, but it also could be a scam. So you want to be real careful with that. Be careful what you post on social media. If you're going out of town, you don't want to post that. You don't want people to know. Post when you come back. If you have beautiful pictures, post, oh, I just got back from Venice and I saw this beautiful wedding and, you know, and here's the gondolas and here's all of this. Post it afterwards when you're home. Don't post pictures of expensive things though that you may have, because that's also, it's very easy to trace who you are and where you live on social media these days and on the computer. You don't want people to know what you have and where to find you. Before you throw things out, be sure that you shred them if it has any kind of information that ties you to that piece, that mail or that paper. If it has anything like your address, if it has your social security number, your Medicare number, if it's anything that came from your insurance company that has identifying information, make sure it's shredded. And Oakland County also offers a couple times a year free shredding. So you can take a few boxes full of papers to a site and they will take it out of your car, they will shred it all, they'll give you back your boxes, and you can be safe. Otherwise, if not, there's home shredders that are very inexpensive. But you want to make sure that any identifiable information is not on papers that you are throwing out. Excuse me. You want to also check your credit report regularly. You are entitled to one free check, one free report from each credit reporting agency every year. So you want to make sure that somebody hasn't opened accounts in your name. I have a daughter that when she was 16, someone took out a mortgage with her social security number. And she didn't find that out until she had gotten her first job. And she went to file her taxes in April, and the IRS sent her back a letter that said, you've already filed your taxes, and and it showed this mortgage, and it showed some other accounts that were open. She was only 16 at the time when this happened to her. So you want to make sure that you check those credit reports, and if you ever get a call or an email from the IRS, it's a scam. IRS will not send you emails, they will not call you, they will send you something in snail mail. And then there should be a phone number on there that links up to the IRS that you can call them back. But be careful, don't ever call somebody unless you know who's calling you. Also with cell phones nowadays, there's spoofing. So numbers can come up, we have caller ID. If you don't recognize something, don't answer it. If it's important, they're gonna leave a message and you can call them back. But there's also the spoofing where they can put a number in that's very similar to yours or looks like it might be something, someone you know. I actually got one of those calls and it was my husband's cell phone number. So I answered it and it was somebody else, but they got me to answer the phone because it was a number that I recognized. So be very careful. And if you do pick up and it's somebody you don't know, hang up. You don't have to be graceful with them. You don't have to even be polite. Just hang up. You don't want to give them any kind of information that can give them the opportunity to impersonate you or to scam you in some way. Oh, this is a big one too, is identity theft. So you want to make sure that you check your bills, check your bank accounts often, and if there's anything that you can't explain, call your bank. If you're not getting your bills regularly, if you get your electric bills every month or your consumer's power and you haven't gotten it, check, find out what's going on. First of all, you want to make sure that you stay up to date in paying your bills, but you also want to make sure that somebody didn't open an account and change your address and have a bill going somewhere else that you're not paying. So you want to make sure you make sure that you get your bills every month. And like I was telling you about, multiple tax returns can be filed in your name. If somebody can find out what your social security number is, so you have to be careful with that. We also want to be careful with financial abuse. Actually, what you don't realize is that trusted family members are the most common perpetrators of persons responsible for financial exploitation of seniors. The vast majority of financial exploitation takes place in families, most often in a home where an older victim is living. So be aware of what you have and what someone's trying to do for you. Is it really something that's going to benefit you, or is it something that's going to benefit somebody else? There's a program through Wayne State University called SAFE, which stands for Successful Aging for Financial Empowerment, and it helps you recover if you have been scammed or if you have been a victim of financial or identity theft. And this is the information, this is the contact information. If you're interested, if you want to keep this in your records, I have this on paper. I can have you take a picture of it before you leave. But this is a good reference to have just in case. They will help you with all kinds of things to recover from having been scammed in one way or another. No, that's through Wayne State University, and they will help everybody. And here's the nurse on call information. I also have that information in writing at my desk, at my table, so you can come and get a copy of that. Are there any other questions? The nurse on call is not just, well, it is for Oakland County, but if you call with a question, they're gonna give you the information. If you're calling for certain services, like clinic services, our clinics are only open to Oakland County residents. But they may help you find for your county, like Wayne County has a health division, Macomb County has a good health division. They'll help you with, get those numbers too, so that you can get to where you need to be to get those important facts. Oh, thank you. I know this wasn't as exciting and as interesting as the talk on mediums and all of those things, but this is important information that we really need, especially as we age.